find the food that she needed and still kind of moved around and did okay. So, I mean, it obviously does compromise their senses a little bit, but it's not a huge amount. You get a situation where they still will be able to kind of find food because they have such good hearing and eyesight and sense of smell. The whiskers are just a sort of added addition to that, and they might miss one or two more hunts than they normally would have, or maybe miss some sort of environmental factor, but otherwise, for the most part, their eyes, ears, and noses are going to be able to kind of keep them going. So if you look at any of these cats, you look at even this Nkuhuma Pride, there's a female that's got an eye that it doesn't look good at all. There's that one with the prolapsed eyelid, the cherry eye, and then the other one with that kind of purple-colored eye. And so if they lose an eye, they're still able to function and find food and still survive. So, losing whiskers is just a part of that, and they would then have a situation where they would probably, in all likelihood, just have better hearing and eyesight through that period, or rely on those more. So it sounds like Brent has solved the riddle and figured out exactly where Tingana is. So let's send you back across to him and see what's happening.
Well, we did, but he's just disappeared into the really long grass. And you see him, Vim? That was a sneaky maneuver. He completely just vanished into this grass. He was sitting on that termite mound. Be careful we don't end up on his tail, the old man. There he is. Yo, look at that for camouflage. Heading towards the big torchwood tree. You just try to get you a view. Hold on, everyone. This is going to be a big one to climb over. You okay, Vimpy? There we go, bouncy bounce. Now he's going into a very difficult area here. Let's just go have a quick look. Now, he's heading in the direction where Tundi's last tracks were heading as well, so this could get interesting. And you can see how a leopard just sort of melts into the grass in an absolute instant if you don't keep your eyes on it. And why, even when we're tracking on foot, you can see how hard it is to spot a leopard in the long grass. Now, this is the furthest north inside Juma I've seen him since I've been back. So maybe he's feeling a bit better. Maybe he's feeling like he can give the hook Amuri a bit of a challenge. Although if I was him at his age, I'd stay away. Oh, he's disappeared again. Sure, this grass is long. I'm just going to go very slowly in case we hit stumps. We don't want to break the car. Now, because we see Hasana and Tingana together so frequently, Max, I think that's quite a valid question, saying if Tingana was attacked by Hokomuri and has... Oh, then that's going to hit you now. Okay. Oh, he's keeping still. So if Hasana was around, would he help Tingana defend against another male? Max, afraid not. I think Hasana, his survival instincts would kick in and he would skedaddle. He might have heard something up ahead. There's often Nyala Kuru in this area. Of course, you never know, there might be another leopard. You can see how he's lifting his nose, testing the air. Well, unfortunately, it's not Tundi, but a leopard. Any leopard is a good leopard, and I know how fond of you a lot, or fond. How fond of you? I can't speak all of a sudden. how fond a lot of you are of Mr. Tingana, or as I like to call him, Tinganana. He's got a bit of a bemused look on his face. Well, he is quite intent about something at the moment. And you could hear some arrow-marked babblers babbling away not too far away. Now there are some Juma vehicles here with us. I've actually found him and followed him on bushwalk in this area. Isn't he beautiful? Even though he is a bit old, starting to look a little bit raggedy around the edges, he still is an absolutely gorgeous cat. He's got life. He even just looks like he's lived. Floyd, you are spot on. He is getting a lovely pinkish tinge from the setting sun. What have you heard, mister? What have you smelt? You can see he's got quite a few ticks on the back of his head there. You can see he's just lifting his head, sniffy, sniffy, sniffy. Ooh, we can hear some thunder in the distance. If a female estrus happened to come upon and start looking for him, he would definitely still mate First Lady. And, well, he's very much capable. And if you remember, Mvula mated for quite a while after he was already not a dominant male leopard. So you could probably say they'll mate till they get killed. He's going to lie down. I'm going to try and move us into a slightly better position. While we do that, let's send you back to Tristan, who is not with a spotted cat today, but a tawny one.
We are. So we have, I suppose it's not a trifecta in terms of species, but a trifecta in terms of number of cats on each feed. So we've got Hosana, Tingana, and then also the Nkuhumas. And this Nkuhuma sighting, as much as the cats are flat, it is one of the most beautiful scenes that we could possibly have. We have these kind of rolling green hills, and like I say, besides the power lines that run along this main road, which are a necessary evil for the lodges to have power, but you've basically got these kind of rolling, undulating hills that go away from us into this fiery red, purple sky, and it is just absolutely perfect black backdrop to these lines. So it is an amazing kind of place just to sit and enjoy, and when you get skies like this, it is absolutely amazing. So we've been flabbergasting is right, Kirsty. We're so glad you're back. You provide us with all these great words that allow us to sound like we're intelligent. So always Kirst that's got these entertaining words and interesting big words. Kirsty, you obviously had a good leave because you're full of them this afternoon, and which is a good thing. But our lions, I think, are going to nap a little bit longer. I think they'll start waking up probably when it gets dark. So it's only about 10 to 6 now. And what we've noticed with Steve over the course of the last couple of days that he's spent with them is that they seem to, in minutes or so, is when they move. Obviously not massively with another meal, but there is still a little bump in those bellies from the kudu that they ate a little bit, well, not last night, the night before, and who knows what they maybe had last night. Now, unfortunately, our signal is starting kind of to dip and to go down, which I don't like doing that, so let's send you to Steve and the sunset.
Thank you very much. It might have something to do with these clouds in the sky that are making for a marvelous sunset. The golden red of the sun reflecting off of the moisture in the air potentially is what's also affecting the signal. We do know that the signal is affected by moisture as well as vegetation, and we've had a lot of rain, and the trees are in full bloom and full leaf. And also the flocks of birds that fly between us and the masts are probably the biggest culprit. I'm sure Conrad is laughing right now. Maybe he's not. Not a funny matter. Gorgeous afternoon. Kirsty assures me that Conrad, our tech magician, is not laughing. What a beautiful afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, we left Husana. There were a couple other vehicles that wanted to come and watch and have a look at what he was doing. We left him flat. But I've been given assurances that if anything changes, they will inform us and we can go back there if need be. Because as we know, lots of people come and look at the leopard for a couple of moments and then off they go again. With the little chief. And that is indeed the Drakensberg mountain in the distance, with a few nice tall marula trees in the front. Guide monkey, I agree with you, ridiculously stunning as the last rays of the sun dip on the horizon. The Crested and Natal Franklins call their nightly chorus. Very happy that Tristan was able to get the Nkuhumas back, and as well Brent finding the old Duke of Juma, Tingana. We have done the cat trifecta for the day, with a marvelous sunset at the same time. Well, the last rays of the sun are fading behind there. We're going to move on from our position and see what else we might be able to find just bumbling along in Chitwa. Who knows? And while we do that, let's go over to Brent and Tingana and see what's happening.
Well, we've caught up with him to get a nice view. He's still intently staring in that same direction. You can see still testing the air. Now when we were with him the other day, he started climbing trees just to sniff, sniff, sniff. Now, I have not been lucky enough to see Tingana in a brawl before Rixus, but he has. Scott, I think, saw him have a standoff with Anderson male. You also seen him have a fight with Juma. I think someone else has seen him chase Mvula. And he's smelling something. Something is really catching his attention. He's staring intently to the north and sniffing. I'm wondering if there isn't another leopard around here. He is definitely looking in much better condition than he has for the last while. Oh, Andrew, you're on fire. Indeed, the Sisticulars alarm calling are at Tingana. Okay, this is going to be fun now. This is a really difficult area. There are a lot of big stumps around. Let's go try this way. So hopping over stumps like that's not the problem. It's when you hit something big. I don't want to just give you a quick look at them staying there. I want to get to the other side of this little sort of elephant minefield. Okay, I'm going to go back over it. Hold on. Hoppa! a little gap through there. Looks like it's going to be the best way for us to get through here. Hold on. The 400 million point elephant minefield turn. Okay, hold on, we're going to pop the back tire over that one. There we go. Okay, do you still see him, Vim? This grass is incredibly long. It's in a little area that would be damp if it was raining. It's the head waters of a little river system that flows into the Mawati. Last place I saw him was here, heading this direction. There he is. So very easy to lose him in this area. Okay, sorry. Next negotiation. There he is. Okay. Still seems to be keeping on the general line. Watch out that doesn't jump up again. Okay. Well, I'll try get through here without breaking the car. That sent you back to Tristan and the tawny cats.
Well, try not to break the car, Brenty. It would be nice if Rusty continued to work after your assault on it. Our tawny cats, unfortunately, are still not awake. I thought by now we would start to see a little bit of yawning, maybe a bit of moving. In fact, there is one that's awake on the back right there, Craig. You see there's one that's kind of got its head up. So there's hopeful signs, at least, that there is one. There's another one that's stretching close to us a little bit and rolling about. And so we have a situation where maybe, just maybe, they are starting to wake up. Although that one, as much as it kind of looks as though it's rolling around, it's still got its legs open and is still enjoying a nice, comfortable lie down, as only lions can do. And a couple of flies that are irritating its ears and its face. But you can see there's a little bit more movement than there was a short time ago. There's at least a bit of moving of the heads and some rolling around, and slowly but surely that starts to kind of work up a little bit, and then eventually heads pop up, a bit of grooming starts to take place, and then we start to see the lions actually moving around a little bit like that. So, Petra, I'm not sure which pride you are referring to that is starving. We don't have a starving pride that we have been seeing. The Styx pride is finding food and is also gaining meals. It's just that prides look a little skinny from time to time, but most of them are thriving at the moment. There isn't really a pride that we've seen on Juma that is struggling. The Tortured pride looks good. The Styx pride has obviously got a bit of mange issues, but otherwise are still finding food, and these guys are finding food. If you're talking about the males, well, the males that we've been seeing that are skinny and not looking good are old males. Those are males that are sort of 12, 13, 14 years old, and so they're reaching the end of their life. And as their teeth wear down, their claws wear down, their bodies start to kind of break down a little bit, it becomes harder and harder for these guys to be able to find food. And you must remember, a single male lion that's 13 years old with a sword joints and everything like that, and bad teeth and claws, is really struggling to hunt, as opposed to 5 adult lionesses that are all in their prime with a bunch of sub-adults. So it makes life a little bit more kind of difficult for the males, and those are the ones that are hungry. But in terms of the prides themselves, none of our prides are emaciated and skinny. They go through phases where they look like they need a meal, and then they bounce back from it pretty quickly. As soon as they get themselves one good meal, then they look good again. So it's a situation where lions are funny cats, and it's just one day and they all of a sudden will be back in their sort of prime and be looking quite good. But there's definitely a little bit more movement, a few little heads that are up and kind of popping themselves to sort of see what's going on. And there's a spotlight as well that is being shone by the guides that have guests. They unfortunately don't have the ability to turn their guests' eyes into IR, and so while we can do it, they can't, and so they still use spotlights in order to be able to kind of shine on the animals and try and do it. Now, hopefully, the way that they are shone on will be good, and that they won't kind of scan too much. Now, our infrared, unfortunately, when people have got spotlights, it doesn't work very well at all, because infrared just flares out whenever somebody pans a spotlight over. So we won't go into infrared just yet because of the lights that are around. As soon as everybody kind of starts to leave, then we'll start to hopefully be able to go into the infrared and not have to worry about the flashes of light all over the place. But definitely, like I say, a little bit of movement, at least a little bit of kind of waking up, a few heads popping up here and there. And this is, I think, the start of the waking up process. You can see the eldest female and the young male. There's the young male that's got his head up, and then the eldest female, which is the one on the far, far left, has got her head up as well. So those two are just having a bit of a kind of thing. And there's the eldest female on the far left with her injury on her hip that is healing up nicely, but she's starting to wake up. A few yawns, and yawns are a good sign. It means that hopefully these lions are going to start thinking about waking up and moving. What we need is amber eyes to wake up. Generally, amber eyes is the one that kind of gets everybody going. But if the eldest lioness and amber eyes get up, then the rest of the pride will follow quite quickly. The sub-adults are still sheep-like, in that whenever somebody else moves, they'll start to move as well. But look at that sky. There's now a bit of purple that's coming out as well. It is absolutely beautiful. Very cool. Good. Now, while we sit here and wait for these guys to wake up, slowly but surely, they are busy doing it. Let's send you back across to Steve, who's bumbling about. I wonder where he is.
We are bumbling about. We are on.
Now, unfortunately, it sounds like Steve's signal is just not working this evening, so we are back with us and our lions, who, as you can see, have done very little in the 2 seconds that you were away. There seems to be one or two also in the background in the Tamberti thickets that are starting to wake up as well. You can see there's still one or two that side, and their heads are up now, and they should hunt tonight. Theoretically, with the cloud cover that we've got overhead, and if there's thunder and lightning, that works right into the hands of cats for hunting. That's when they'll start to kind of come out and chase animals, and the reason why is because it's generally darker, it's noisy, it makes life a lot harder for these cats to be able to, well, a lot harder for the prey animals, to see or hear or smell the cats coming, and so you have a situation where these guys can then use that to their advantage. So it's pretty important when we get conditions like this, particularly because we've just come from a full moon period, which would have made it harder for all these cats to hunt, that they utilize every bit of conditions that they have and try and then use cloudy, stormy weather to their advantage. Now, this particular pride at the moment, we know there is one buffalo on Juma somewhere, so maybe that buffalo is going to be in a bit of danger tonight if this pride starts getting going and just heads, if they head northeast and west from where we are now towards the sort of sunset, then they might come across that buffalo, because that's where Brent had it this morning. So I'm pretty sure this pride would love to get themselves a buffalo. Now, first, I think Brent used the wrong radio, but he's asking for a quick link. So, no, you don't have his picture. Okay. So, anyway, there are a few animals that we do not follow off-road. So, things like impalas, kudu, duiker, steenbok, wildebeest, zebra, nyala, what else? That's pretty much it. So, normally what we say for Big Five, and then you'll have a situation where you can off-road for cheetah, wild dogs, and then really special sightings, so things like aardvark, pangolin, caracal, serval is also generally acceptable. So the rest of them, we try. Right, now I believe Brent's picture's back, so let's quickly send you across to him.
Okay, Tingana's just disappeared behind this warthog. He must be within 3 or 4 meters. And it's a big male warthog. This could be a very good meal. There are a lot of hyenas around at the moment, so he's going to try make sure it doesn't squeal too much and bring the other predators in. So We can't see him at the moment, but he's very, very close. Okay, we're going to have people in different platforms joining us, so I'm going to be quiet for a second. Yeah, just... There's a warthog about to go down its hole, and there's a leopard less than 2 meters from it. Remember, this is 100% live, coming to you from the Sabi Science Game Reserve in South Africa. My name's Brent, but I think we're going to stick on that warthog for as long as possible in case something happens, because we never know what's going to happen. Now, as I say, this is 100% live. There's a big male leopard very close by to this warthog. Now, the reason we are in black and white, we are using special infrared lights that enable us to see what's happening in the dark without disturbing the hunt on that. So white lights might give away the presence of the predator. Also, it can slightly blind some of the prey species. But by using this infrared light, we're able to witness what happens out here without interfering. This is very, very exciting. Now, at this time of the evening, warthogs are normally going into their burrows, so this one's a little bit late. And that leopard is probably, as I say, may no more than 10 feet, a couple of meters away, somewhere behind that bush. So we watched the leopard walk in there, and everything's gone still. That warthog is still there. So if this does take place, just if you are a sensitive viewer, this might not be for you, because warthogs dying is not a very pleasant thing, and the squeals and screams that that animal makes can sometimes be distressing. So just to be warned. Hi, Ian. Ian says, I do hope he gets the hog. Me too, Ian. He could do with a big meal. So we've got no sight of the leopard at the moment, only just the pig's ears. Sim says, I'm going to have to cover my ears and eyes. Yes, Sim, it can be quite traumatic, particularly with pigs because of the squealing. Now, in his younger years, Tingana was a warthog pro. Now, this is a big male warthog, and he had a fine set of tusks on him. So, no doubt that he's still going to try for the warthog. Whether he succeeds, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, for those of you who might not believe, this is 100% live from the Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa. Hi, Martini, who's just joined us. This is Tingana, who's stalking this warthog at the moment. The warthog might go down its burrow and live to fight another day, or the leopard might miss completely when it pounces. So we never know what's going to happen next. And that is the joy of being on a live African safari. Now, patience is key in these situations. We don't want to move the vehicles. We want to keep as still as possible as not to disturb. Now, of course, not only the predators but the prey have very developed senses. So yes, First Lady, prey can smell predators around. At the moment there's not much of a breeze, but the breeze that we do have is coming from here and going past the warthog, and the leopard somewhere on the other side of that bush there. So it's unlikely that the leopard is going to be able to smell that, or the warthog is going to be able to smell the leopard. The leopard, however, most certainly will be able to smell the warthog, and probably even hear the tiny little movements and rustles that it makes. Now, in this situation now, the leopard will be moving almost as slowly as water freezes to ice to try and make sure it doesn't give away its position as it gets closer and closer to this warthog. 13 Rainbow says the pig looks sleepy. He should be. So warthogs are diurnal animals. They'll feed and forage during the day, and at night they'll use disused aardvark burrows to sleep in. Now, the one thing that's in this warthog's benefit at the moment is it's half in, half out one of these burrows. So it is on its way to have a snooze. It might be out in the entrance to the burrow because it's quite hot. Today it was over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, about 33 degrees Celsius, and he might be just trying to catch a little bit of cool air before going down into that hot burrow. Carolyn, we can't see the leopard either. So the last place we saw the leopard was just here, moving around this bush. And then when we spotted the warthog over there, we switched off our car and turned off our spotlights and are just sitting quietly and waiting to see what happens. So Carolyn, we're here to observe. We're not here to aid the leopard or the warthog. We just want to see nature take place as it has for millennia. Now you'll hear some birds calling in the distance. It's just after sunset here in the African bush. So you can see just a little bit of light sky there, but we are, as I said, in the infrared lights, so we don't interfere with the hunt, and enables the camera to see in the dark. Superbikes thinks that the Tingana, the male leopard, is going to get the warthog. Well, Superbikes, we're just going to have to play the patience game to see if he does. Now, absolute pandemonium will break out when it does happen. Let's just have a quick look with the infrared lights in that a little bit to the left. Is that not him? A little bit more to the left. There's a little gap through there. Let's just try to see if we can see anything through there. So we're just trying to spot where the leopard is. And unfortunately, we can't see him, but we know he's there. We've been following him for a few hours. Oh, not a few hours, probably about 40 minutes or so. Paula says the anticipation is killing her. Yes, Paula, well, when you're out on safari, you need to have patience. It's very, very important. And to get to see the incredible interaction we do, we spend hour upon hour out here. So, is he still there? There's the pig. He's still snoozing. You can see there's some flies buzzing around him. Now, it's very seldom we get lucky enough to be in these situations. And so, as I say, we're just going to sit and wait it out. The pig's opened his eyes. You can see his eye reflecting a little bit off the infrared light there. You can hear me having a drink of water. It's been very hot today. It's important to stay hydrated out here. Now, at the moment, everything's very, very calm, but it could explode into absolute pandemonium in a split second. Now, the leopard doesn't want to put a foot wrong in case. And Katie says, what's the closest I've been to a predator without realizing it's there? It would probably be leopard. And I was tracking a mating pair of leopard in the Sand River, and I suddenly looked up. My tracker said, "Brother, don't move." And I looked up, and there was a big male leopard, probably about a meter from me, at eye level on the bank of the river, looking me in the eye. Fortunately, we'd tracked him quite often on foot, and he just lay down there and crouched and watched me. But we encounter lion and leopard on foot during the day on a regular basis. That's one of the ways we find them. We'll follow their footprints till we find them, then we'll come back and fetch the car. It's much easier to track on foot than it is to track in the vehicle. You can follow the tracks far, far more easily. But at night time, we do not get out of our vehicles. We become part of the food chain at night. During the day, we're the dominant diurnal predator, and most animals have a very healthy respect for us. However, at night, lions in particular become incredibly dangerous for us, and they would eat us. Crystal, they do hear us talking, but the sound of our voices in normal conversation is not what the animals would have an instinctive response to. Generally, when human beings out on the African plains for the last 400 or so thousand years encounter a predator, there's a lot of shouting and screaming and being aggressive. So talking in a nice normal voice like this, if I were to start shouting, it would send the warthog down its hole. It said the leopard running in the opposite direction. So animals have instinctive responses. It's the same reason that they don't they're scared of human beings during the day. The bipedal upright figure of man has been the dominant diurnal predator for a few 100,000 years, and lions have, and leopards, and even warthog have an instinctive response to that upright figure out in the wild. So the reason we are the dominant diurnal predator is it's mostly because we are able to deal with heat, and also the communal hunting strategies. A group of men could put a lot of pressure on a group of lions during the day because they are unable to deal with heat well. So what happens is that we could actually overheat a lion, or keep chasing a lion till it is very overheated and we can kill it. However, at night it is the lion's time, and that is why we want to go home when it gets dark. It's our instinctive response from living out in the open savannas. We want to get back to where it's safe, back to our cave. Warthog, are you going to ruin the party and go down your hole? Very, very, very good question, Yoli. Has Tingana possibly abandoned this hunt? There's always a possibility. I would say it's highly unlikely. He is hungry, and he is known to be quite the pig specialist. So I think he's just trying to wait for the perfect moment. The only thing that might cause him to abandon this hunt is if the warthog became aware of his presence, and the warthog disappeared down his hole. And he's almost 3/4 of the way in the hole now, just his nose and head sticking out. Now, a female leopard wouldn't take a pig of this size. It's a very big male. Long tusks. It's always possible, but I don't think so. I think he's right there. But if the warthog goes down his hole, has the pig gone down, Vim? There's a tiny bit of the pig. You can just see his eyes and his ears there. So Rom, yes, possibly if the pig moved and started shoveling some dirt out of his hole, that might be the opportunity for Tingana to attack. Sometimes male leopards, I've seen them go completely underground and pull out pigs. But that doesn't happen too often. You spot him anything, VM? Just having a quick look to see if we can see if he's sneaking up. Now, what we're looking at here in infrared is very similar in terms of what lions and leopards and how they see. They don't see in the same detail as the camera, but the coloration, these sort of greeny grey, quite monotoned colors is the sort of color that the leopard would be seeing in, and that enables them to have such fantastic night vision, which is about 7 to 8 times better than a human being's. So, I mean, by looking through the infrared light, you can get an idea of what the predators see when they're moving about at night. Now, Andrew thinks the warthog's too deep in the burrow. I don't think it's too deep in the burrow yet, Andrew. Quite often a big male leopard will use its claws. They'll hook that warthog and pull it out. And the reason sometimes leopards take a long time in choosing the right moment when hunting a warthog, especially a warthog of this size, is because they can be incredibly dangerous and inflict major wounds on them. So the big white impressive tusks that you see on the outside, those are not the ones that inflict most of the damage. So they're small bottom tusks called tushes that rub up against the large, big, prominent tusks that are easy to see, and they sharpen themselves against the base of those top tusks. And what that does is make them razor sharp. So, Warty, I don't know if this warthog realizes how close that leopard is. Mwanji, we're about, what did you say, Vim? 10 meters? So here we go. That's me here. The warthog's just there. So we're about 10 meters away from the warthog. Leopard probably 15. We do get quite close to these animals on a regular basis though. But as I say, we don't want to spend too much time off the warthog, because a leopard at top speed does about 24 meters per second, which is just over, it was about 53 miles per hour. It doesn't do it for very long. So leopards, being ambush predators, will try to stalk as close as possible. Ideally, they want to be less than 5 meters away from their potential prey before they uncoil those muscles and spring forward. Leopards need to eat every 2 to 3 days down, depending on what they've caught. A big male warthog like this, if he manages to get it up into a tree, will actually probably feed him for 3 or 4 days, and he won't need to eat for a day or two after that. So it all depends on what they're feeding on. You can just see that warthog's eye shining there. And I think this warthog's just milling about at the entrance to its den because it's hot and doesn't want to get down into that hot burrow but too early. But hanging around could get you into trouble, Mr. Pig. Now, like most of the cats, Daniel, a leopard's hunting success rate is relatively low. It's about between 10 and 15% of hunts end successfully. It all just depends on a lot depends on the area that they're in and even the season. So seasonally, leopards might have a higher success rate in certain areas. Oh, what are you up to? than others. So, but on average, about 1.5 hunts out of 10 end in success. Now, everyone often thinks, wow, that's so low. How could that be? How do they eat? Well, just think, if they had 100% success rate, there'd be no other animals left out here. And the same goes for the lions. Lions also roughly between 10 and 15% success rate, depending on the area that they are in. You will even sometimes have quite a varying success rate between different prides. So it's always quite interesting to look in depth at that type of stuff. A big male warthog like this, Laura, probably weighs just over 100 kilograms or close on. And a big male leopard like Tingana is probably around 80 kilograms. So the warthog's got about 20 or so kilograms on him, but he's got an arsenal of weapons, long canines and those incredibly sharp claws to aid him in trying to bring down this warthog. So, as I was saying, patience is very important when it comes into these situations. You can't rush nature. Just trying to see if we can spot him through there again. Marcy thinks she might have seen eyeballs by the left on the bush. I can see some hawk moth eyes shining, Marcy. Where was that hawk moth? About there, Vim. I did see the eyes of a hawk moth as it was fluttering past. So certain moth and spider species, their eyes will reflect in the infrared light. There's the little hawk moth. Oh, he landed now. Warthog's still there. Come on, Mr. T, make your move. As you're saying, when he does make his move, it's like a flash. Incredibly quick. Michelle says, we're all rooting for you, Tingana. Yes, a big warthog like this would be an excellent feed for him. Well, a different Michelle is asking how long would this kill last. So, Michelle, it depends if he's able to hoist it and put it up in a tree to protect it from hyenas and lions. And if he is able to do that, it should last 3 to 4 days. A big pig like this. And you'll start hearing quite a few of the nocturnal insects starting to make a noise now, as well as the odd owl in the distance. You can hear a little African barred owl. Eleanor says Tingana is an old man. He probably nodded off. He is quite old. He's 12 years old now, which is towards the elderly side for a male leopard. Sometimes they can survive a bit longer by sneaking around and trying to avoid other male leopards, but they seldom ever live beyond sort of 14. 14 is incredibly old for a male leopard. Normally they sort of move on to the next plane between 11 and 13. You can just see that warthog's eye reflecting off the infrared light. Still hasn't gone down. kangaroo. Yes, there are some crickets in the background. They also sound like there's some katydids, which is a type of grasshopper. And various different other insects. Now you can see when we started how light the sky was there. It's really darkened now. So we're just after sunset when he spotted that pig. Ron says this is like watching a horror movie when you know something's going to happen. It's an incredibly still night tonight as well, barely a breeze. Ron, at least we don't have the ominous horror movie music to go along. I'm just going to sit quietly to see if we might be able to hear anything. Now, you never know, we might even hear the lions roaring from here, or a hyena whooping as well. Oh, first fiery-necked nightjar of the evening. Cheeky says Tingana is the last-minute leopard. Now, indeed he is, Cheeky. So, for those of you who might not understand that little comment about him being the last-minute leopard, he does like to show up at the last minute of the show. So, if you're enjoying this broadcast, even though almost nothing's happened just yet, but we are 100% live and we cannot script nature, it's going to play out its own way. We do this for 6 hours a day, every day. Just type in Safari Live into your internet search browser, and you should find the times and etc. for the live shows. Is he still there? Can you see the warthog view? He's still there. I can't see his eye anymore. But that does look like he is still there. Yeah, there's his eye. Patience, patience, patience is very important. So while we're waiting for the explosion out there, do you guys have any other questions about leopards in general that you would like me to answer while we wait patiently for this leopard to make his move on the warthog? Is that warthog still there? Hi, Christy. Christy is wondering if predators can see the eye glow of the prey species. No, Christy, they can't. So predators' eyes, as I say, they see in this sort of color we're looking at the moment, but they are specifically designed to pick up movement. So predators will look for movement in their eyes. They won't see the eye glow. Sorry guys, one of the other game drive vehicles is just calling me. Yes, Chris? He spotted the warthog. Yeah. So there's another couple of game drive vehicles here on Juma Private Game Reserve enjoying this with us. Also playing the patience game with us. He's just saying he definitely spotted the warthog. There we go, you can see the warthog just moving ever so slightly, the ears there. And I'll say the only way I think he's going to give up here is if that warthog goes underground. decides he's had enough time cooling off up at the surface and is going to head down for beddie buys. Very, very humid at the moment as well. As I said earlier, not even a very, very, very light breeze. Zora, I don't think he's waiting for the warthog to fall asleep. He's waiting for the warthog to sort of lose concentration, maybe. When the warthog wants to go to sleep, he's going to go under the ground. But he might, you never know, the warthog might have a little nap up at the top, and that would definitely be the perfect opportunity for that leopard to take advantage of that situation. Now, Space is asking how deep is the burrow. Well, it's a disused artfark burrow, and sometimes they can be very, very deep and quite elaborate as well. And there's records of them going on for 10 or 15 meters under the ground. Now, if he does manage to catch this warthog, Marcy, he'll have an incredibly tough time. They are very strong animals, so he could have a bit of a tough time trying to take it down, and quite often they can escape. So the predators don't win every battle. Playing proper patience here at the moment. There you go, you can just see that warthog's eye again. And Space, yes, it is a lot deeper than expected. So I think I probably misspoke there. So it's probably only 1.5 meters to 2 meters deep. Probably the deepest cavern being up to about 3 meters. But the tunnels can have multiple entrances and exits in 15 meters distance away from the main entrance tunnel or anything like that. This is one of those moments when you sort of want to say, sort of have a peek behind the bush. Is something happening there? Is he still here? We don't know, but we've got to be very careful. So we never want to interfere either in the warthog or the leopard's benefit. So for now, unless the warthog goes under the ground, we are going to just sit here for a little bit longer. And the warthog is still there, with just his head and ears popping out. Oh dear. Piggy, are you going down? Looked like he moved down a little bit. Is that him, or is that the entrance to the hole now of him?
His eye's still there.
His eye's still there, but he seems to be getting deeper and deeper. Brad, sorry, I didn't catch that. I was concentrating. I thought I saw something just behind there, Brad. Sorry, Chris, can I have that question again? Brad, it's difficult to say, but an older cat like this, he could very easily get injured by a warthog. A younger and prime male, less likely, and just much stronger, a little bit faster. But with relatively frequency, I wouldn't say it's every time, but probably a good 10 or 15% of the time that they attack a big male warthog, not a small warthog, there is a possibility that they could get injured. Now, the animals are very resilient to a lot of these injuries and sort of can bounce back from injuries that us as human beings would consider to be absolutely catastrophic. Some hyenas calling in the distance. Quite far away though. Anu, loves the sounds of the bush. I think we're all in absolute agreement with you there, Anu. I'm just gonna... Okay. Well, I think this warthog has gone a little bit too deep. It seems to be disappearing at the moment. Let's give it 2 more minutes before we decide to give up our vigil here. We've been so patient. All right. Just hoping for the last minute leopard, as Tingana has been nicknamed. Now, no Tiva, the other vehicles can't see the leopard. They are sitting with their lights off. We're lucky enough to have the infrared light attached to our camera that enables us to see what's going on. So we're the only ones who can actually see what's happening at the moment. So I'm watching on a screen that's in front of me, so I can see what the camera is seeing. Because other than that, it is absolutely pitch black. Now, I'm going to ask Vim to do switch off the infrared light so you can see. So that's what I'm looking at the moment if I don't look at my screen. Isn't that incredible? And we pop the light on. There we go. Now, sometimes leopards will wait next to a warthog hole the whole night till the next morning, and as they come out and not expecting it, they'll be there waiting. So maybe, oh look, you can see those big tusks there as he swept up. And you saw how big those tusks were on that warthog. I think this warty is going to make it through the night. I think the leopard might try and wait till morning, especially with those big tusks on him. Maybe Tingana, at his old age, is playing it a bit more cautious. Thanks for joining us on this vigil. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to happen there at this very moment, but that's what happens out here in the African bush. This is live, it's unscripted. So from VM and myself, Brent Smith, it's been great having you with us. Remember, you can find us. Just type in Safari Live onto your search engine and you can join us for 6 hours a day, every day. Bye. Hi everyone. Well, I think he's going to play the patience game, as I said, and we unfortunately can't play the patience game all night. I wish we could, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see you bright and early for tomorrow's sunrise safari.